FM and AM 1160. Good morning, and thanks for being with us here today on this Friday. Our conversation this morning with Bob Pollock from the Extension Service brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Mr. Pollock is in the studio right across from me. If you'd like to call and ask him a question, you can do that. 479-1160, 349-WCCS. That's 349-9227. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Hey, fair season got underway a couple of weeks ago, Dayton Fair. Here comes the Indiana County Fair, and people get a chance, and I don't get the chance to talk with you all this much about that, and certainly not last year when there weren't any fairs, but people get a chance to maybe see something that they haven't seen when it comes to agriculture at a fair, because I think we sometimes lose sight of the fact that they are agricultural fairs.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when they go to the fair, what are some of the things that you say, you ought to pay attention to that? Because you don't get a chance to see this every day.
Probably animals would be the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Think about there'll be cows, both dairy cows, beef cows.
Uh-huh.
There'll be sheep, goats, and there'll be some herds of those there. Yeah. So you might have you'll have the ewes, for example. Mm-hmm. So the adult female sheep. But you also might have some lambs there too, so they'll have, which were produced this year.
Yeah.
So there's classes for those to exhibit, and then you'll have pigs, all right, down on the one end.
Yeah.
And then those are all sectioned off. I'm sure you can see some draft horses. You can see some regular horses.
Are there chickens this year?
You could see a horse show. I think they'll be very limited. There'll be some there, but as I understood it, or at least I heard it,
maybe we'll ask Ed.
A couple
Ed's
of the big,
be here next
a couple of the large exhibitors. There was something going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's not that many people that do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it really limits the number of people that have flocks that can go around and move. Haul them in and haul them out and exhibit them, because they have had some very excellent exhibits of chickens over the years.
Yeah, they really have.
Yeah,
it's a popular attraction.
What else am I missing there?
Well, it's not.
And you might see some baby calves.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So there's the petting zoo. Mm-hmm. So that also is really tuned in to helping people get a little better understanding of the agriculture that's around us. Mm-hmm. That might not be around you on an everyday basis, but is out there occurring every day.
You have been involved in the past in judging of animal exhibits and some other things. I think you and I, a couple of years, we did the chocolate cake contest, didn't we?
Well, that's going back a ways, isn't it?
That was a really, really hard thing to judge, who has the best chocolate cake. But I sacrificed and I took that burden upon myself. And I thought you were involved in that too. Maybe you provided the chocolate or the white milk to go with the chocolate cake.
I've had to judge a lot of things over the years at various places. You're there as a judge, and if somebody gets sick and doesn't show up, or for whatever reason, or something just happened to get missed, you get pulled into.
Are there certifications that judges at these fairs have to go through in order to qualify?
There are with some species more than another, or some items more than another. Mm-hmm. In most cases, there's not some official school that you go to get a training certificate. Yeah. But like the Pennsylvania Fair Association, they will hold trainings at various times, usually during the winter before their gathering in January, and they'll tie in some training sessions on how to judge certain things, and offer people the opportunity to go and learn more about that. There's no official certification, but
I did not need any special training for judging the chocolate cake.
And most judges are trained in whatever it is they're judging. That's their background, or that might be their part of their livelihood. Like with animal judges, those folks are usually they've come from a livestock background. They've grown up with animals. Yeah. They've trained animals.
You're judging pigs. You've been around pigs.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what a good pig looks like.
Yes, and it takes that, from beginning to finish to to really be able to look at that animal. And I mean finish, I mean hanging in a slaughterhouse.
Sure.
Going through that whole cycle, so that you understand the parts, how they move, how they're supposed to move, how the animal's been put together. So there's a lot of things that go into that. I always kind of was amazed. It's one thing, I can judge fruits and vegetables and things like that. But,
yeah. There's a worm crawling out of it. You probably aren't going to win.
But on the animal side, I'm always amazed at the judges and how they can look at those animals. But they're trained. They're trained to look for certain things that help bring those champion animals, what all the parts that put those together to become a champion animal, what those are and how to look at them. They're a moving target. Those animals aren't just standing there.
Yeah.
Now a dairy cow is a little bit different than a pig that's running around in circles in the...
Yeah, if people have never seen the pig judging, it is crazy. The judges, they're mingling with the kids. The kids are trying to herd their animal so that it will walk past the judge in a nice... And the pig never cooperates. And so you've got others that are going to jump in with their board to make sure the pigs don't start fighting with each other. And somehow out of all of this, the judge is able to pick out the animal that is judged to be the best one.
And kids they work with those animals, and pigs are harder to work with, but oftentimes you can tell who has worked more with their animal than somebody else has.
Yeah.
However, this is a moving target, and that pig alone, or with its pen mates, that were at home, you bring them out of that environment, you move them into an environment where there's a lot of other pigs there, and then you get them in the show ring with all these animals that have never seen before.
Yeah.
That's a whole new ball game, and it only takes
and an audience,
one bump, and an audience, and everything going on, and all these multiple people in there. You can have 10 or 15 people in that ring showing those animals. They usually try to limit the size of the group because then it just becomes a real challenge.
It really is something to see, though.
It is something to
people
see.
who have not seen it
absolutely
should go to the fair just for that, and they'd be amazed by A, how much work these kids put into these animals, and B, how important it is to them. It's highly recommended. I wanted to ask you about this too, and I don't know that there will be any bee exhibits at the fair. I doubt that there will be, but bees are getting more and more attention because of the failings and the fallings. They're actually falling out of the sky. We're not to the bottom of this yet, are we? With
no.
the bee problem?
Oh no, definitely not.
Yeah,
yeah. It's
are we closer?
Ongoing. They're definitely learning things as we go along, and they're looking into more detail at things, and trying to look at ways to resolve some of these major issues that we're having, especially with some of the pests that attack the bees, and then things that we might be doing or not doing that can contribute to that in one way or another, and the whole environmental piece of the puzzle, and just the flora, the different plants, in different areas have different plants that are more attractive to bees and less attractive, and what are the pollinator gardens, and all these things that are coming out of taking a closer look at and trying to look for solutions to some of these major problems. Yeah, I think we're stepping ahead. We're not running ahead.
Yeah,
but we're moving along and making some progress.
I know the zinnias and the gladiolas, all of those at my house are just polluted with bees and butterflies. They love that stuff, and the hummingbirds too. The hummingbirds have to sort of elbow their way in because they've got so much competition for these plants.
That's right,
It's really
that's
fascinating
great
to watch.
And those are some of the things. Some of those plants are extremely attractive to bees and pollinators, and other plants not so much. And some of that's evolution. What those flowers that are around, some of those native species that are around, and then there's other plants that are introduced that they may be not as attractive for one reason or another, because of their pollen source or lack of it. So It's an intriguing thing.
It
There
really is.
probably will be some honey exhibited at the fair. There's classes for exhibiting honey and honeycomb and honey products. So
Yeah.
you can look for that too.
Yeah, we'll be talking with Ed and Eric again. after
And
the
it's
top of the
interesting
hour.
between species too. If you have time to, sit in on the pig show for a little bit and then go watch the goat show or the lamb show, and then the steer show, and then the dairy show, just to see the differences in how those species are exhibited and the differences between these animals. Some are very large, some are very small. They have different characteristics. They have different
behavior
habits,
cycles.
the behaviors.
Yeah. That's all cool. It's all cool. So you're looking forward to the fair.
So absolutely.
What's the go-to food for you at the fair?
Ooh.
What do you got to have? I'm at the fair. I need this. What is it?
Well, we usually got to have some hot sausage.
Got it. Okay.
And
You
then
do the funnel cake?
stromboli's another.
Stromboli. Got to get the stromboli one night. Yeah. Funnel cake? No. Yes.
Yeah.
Up or down? Thumbs up or thumbs down on funnel cake?
Well, once a year you got to at least have that. I'm not getting any younger. I got to. I can't eat one of those every day.
He's Bob Pollock from the Extension Service, and he has joined us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning. I just looked over there, though. None of that segment recorded. How about that? Hate when that happens. I know what happened. Somebody flipped a switch and didn't flip it back. So
Those switches.
I will go down and I will give them the what for. All right, Bob. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.